Hi, I'm Chris.
I'm Bebbo.
And I'm Millsy.
Each week, we're going to unleash the thrill of sporting discourse as we debate some of the hottest topics across the globe.
With insightful analysis, diverse perspectives, and engaging discussions, we strive to entertain and inform as we tug at the fabric of social morality.
We dive into the ultimate court of conversation and feel the friction of mass debated sports.
Welcome back, listeners, to episode 9 of the Masturbated Sports Podcast. Boys and I here tonight, as normal, every Tuesday night. And guys, Magic Round was on the weekend. How'd you like it? What did you enjoy about it the most, Chris?
Yeah, mate, it was good. Some good games, some nice close games, and obviously a good win by the Warriors there over the Panthers, and the unfortunately the Roosters letting us down 1-12, which was disappointing. But other than that, mate, some really good games and good to watch.
What about you, Millsy? What did you get up to on your weekend, mate?
Yeah, I caught a heap of Magic Round, but I managed to scrape myself away from the TV on Sunday afternoon to go and observe some Premier Gladstone basketball against the mighty Ipswich team. I can't remember what their things are, but yeah, it was really good to get out there and watch some live sports after a while. So yeah, big shout out to John and his brother who was playing at the weekend, and it was really good atmosphere. Actually, quite surprising because I didn't expect much, but it definitely delivered on all fronts. So yeah, really good. Thanks, mate.
So is that in the WNBA? Is that who Kaylin Clark plays for? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with women's sports. All right, guys, bit to cover this episode. We're going to discuss whether Wayne Bennett gave himself the best chance to win another premiership following today's announcement about his future. Talk about some of our NRL season predictions now that we're past Magic Round. We'll fly over to overpopulated India to discuss the pointy end of the IPL season. And, of course, we've got our regular segments like Massey Sports Cock of the Week and unsolicited financial advice. But we'll jump straight to it. Brad Arthur last night was given the flick as head coach of the Parramatta Eels by the board with a $750,000 handshake in an 11th hour bid to sign master coach Wayne Bennett and prevent him from returning to South Sydney on his reported 3-year deal. Obviously, that was made official today, and Wayne is going to head back down there. And if you listen to his post-conference or his post-game conference on Sunday night there, it was pretty obvious that he was heading there anyway from the comments he makes. So, Chris, we'll go to you first. If you're Wayne Bennett, would you have taken the Parramatta job, and you think he's made a mistake going back to South Sydney to try and win another premiership?
Look, me personally, I would have taken the Parramatta job. I mean, he's got history with South. He's been there before, but he hasn't been able to do it. And largely, it's the same sort of playing roster. I mean, they have lost a few players, but it's largely the same playing roster. So I'm not too sure what's really going to change. And we talked about this on the podcast a few episodes back, and we talked about the culture at South, and the kind of the rot or the cancer that we talked about on the podcast, and how it's kind of set in. And I just don't know how long that'll take to get out. As you mentioned, he signed a 3-year contract, and I just don't know how long it's going to take to get that out of them and then turn it around. Whereas conversely, you look at the Eels, I don't think the Eels have that cultural issue. The Eels have got a lot of good origin talent on their team. I know South do as well. And then you look at the Eels halves, their halves pairing in Moses and Brown. They're a lot younger. I think Moses is 29 and Brown's 23. Conversely, on the flip side of that, Walker's 35 and sort of on his way out the door. So I think, in terms of what he's got to play with at the Eels, I think he's got a sort of a better roster. I don't think he's got those cultural concerns that he's probably got at South. So for me, I probably would have taken the Eels gig, mate, to be honest.
So you mentioned the Eels halves there, and it's a good shout. They are much better, Nick, than the Rabbits halves. And I did love how you only mentioned Cody Walker in the Rabbits halves because no one knows who their halfback is. But on the Eels side of things, the rest of their spine is a bit of a question mark, though. Obviously, Joey Lussick is a stopgap hooker. He's done a a decent job some games, but he's not your ideal answer. Probably someone you want your squad for depth. And Gutho just isn't him anymore. He's lost a step. Do you look at upgrading both positions? And if so, I mean, where do you put Gutho in that team? Because he's too good to not play, but is he the best fullback?
No, I think we'll start with Gutho. I think, look, at the end of the day, looking at some of his stats over the past couple of years, he was a pretty prodigious try-scoring talent. Go back and look at the last, sort of like 19, 18, 17, 19 tries, go back. And this year I think he scored one try. So to your point, I think he's certainly out of step. But for me, I think looking at, I think their centre pairings actually are a bit of a concern as well. You got Penasini, Morgan Harper, and Russell, who's largely a fullback as well. So I think I'd be looking to sort of bolster that, and as you mentioned, looking for a bit better strength in that hooker position too. Given losing Reid Marnie to the Bulldogs, and I know it was that going back a couple of seasons, but that was a pretty big loss for them. I thought he was he's a good little player. But who you'd bring in, I'm not sure who's coming off contract, but I think definitely you'd have to bolster that position for sure. But where do you put Gutho on that side? Look, I don't know if you can really squeeze him into the centres or maybe put him in the centres, but I think to your point, I think he's kind of gone off the boil at fullback, and so I'd be looking to move him from there for sure.
Righto. What's your thoughts, Millsy? Do you agree that Parramatta would have been a better option for him?
I don't, if I'm Wayne Bennett. So I and it's quite common knowledge that he enjoys a challenge, and I feel he has got some unfinished business over at the Bunnies. So it's actually quite interesting. The positions that Parramatta are probably stronger than South Sydney. It's the complete polar opposite for South. So I think he's definitely got more upside at the Bunnies. That you can't get any bigger upside than the fact that I've rooted to the bottom of the table with a points difference of 80 less than the next team. So I think he will see that as a massive opportunity, and whatever he does at that club, he can't fail. So with his age profile, it eventually will become a factor, right? Like he's obviously not getting any younger, but when his age starts to come to it, he still wants to keep a hold of his legacy. And there's a real risk that Parramatta end up dropping like Sal's had done, and he doesn't want to be at the helm of that. So I think he's looking at this as saying, I've got unfinished business at South. I know all the players. I know the roster, maybe apart from Jack Whiten, who's moved across, which is probably quite an exciting prospect for him. You've got to obviously upgrade the halves and sort out the trail at the back. But he'll be looking at that roster thinking he can make a couple of tweaks and turn that into something quite good again and get them into the 8. And the one thing that I think South lacked last year, and obviously they're consistently shit, but they're lacking that sort of consistent animal, just grunt and go forward and trying to play for your man and stuff. And I think that's what he delivers. If you watch the Dolphins play, they're a brand new team. They weren't playing together at all 2 years ago, and now they look like one of the most galvanized teams in the league. So he can really sort of turn that around for South. He's also obviously got the backing of Russell Crowe. Apparently he met with him before signing the contract. So that would be a big factor, I'm sure. Even though he has obviously worked with him previously, I still think Russell Crowe is a huge name, not just in sport, just globally. So that's a factor in his decision. And I think he can influence more behind the scenes stuff at South, because I think that is the biggest issue. Their roster is not a roster that should be at the bottom of the table. It is a roster that should be competing for the top 8. And if he can sort out that rot behind the scenes, and to be honest, the only person in rugby league that can probably do that is Wayne Bennett, he will look like the superstar we all know he is, and that could be his swan song. I know you previously said on an episode, Bebbo, that he's going to die in the coaching box, and that's quite possibly true. But if he turns South around, gets into a premiership, is there a better legacy of taking over a club on the bottom of the table taking him through to a premiership in 2 or 3 seasons. I doubt there is. And he has got the roster there to get him to it. He just needs to upgrade a couple of positions. And you're seeing some of the youngsters coming through, especially with Latrell being out with Jai, I forget his surname.
Gray.
Jai Gray. He's obviously an uncut gem at the moment. Someone like Bennett could come in and really try and promote these youngsters. And they've got a good community program. They've got good roots and stuff like that into the club. And I think he can really galvanise that team and get them back to where they should be, albeit he will need to think about a succession plan with especially the halves there. So I think he'll relish the opportunity and look at that as something that he can definitely stamp his mark on.
Do you think that you said what would be better for his legacy than taking a team from the bottom to the top? Well, I'm pretty sure it was Martin Lang did that with Penrith. I don't know, in the early 2000s there. No one thinks of Martin Lang as the greatest coach of all time because he took a cellar dweller to a premiership in 1 year. I actually would argue that him winning a premiership and ending almost 40 years of pain for the team that's got the longest drought in the NRL would be more legacy defining than going back to South and winning there. Both are big feats, obviously. I think, obviously, Parramatta, it's the stigma that they haven't won. They keep getting so close and they can't get over that hurdle. So if he gets there and he doesn't jump over, he doesn't get over the top, I get your point. But I don't think he's not scared of failure. Fuck, he's failed with teams. He failed with the Knights at times, So it's not that for him, I don't believe. But I just don't see him in 3 years being able to turn this Rabbitohs team around. You say a few tweaks. If it's a few tweaks to get that team from where they are to the best, then honestly, that's not Wayne Bennett. That's JC, mate. He's come back from the Bible to perform miracles. Okay, so
fair enough.
Yeah, that their roster, their forward pack is rubbish. They're losing Tom Burgess, who's probably been their best go forward guy. Cook's still got some years in him. Walker does not. They don't have a 7. They don't have a fullback. Jack White is still playing good, but he's getting old. I think there's a lot of fucking tweaks, like so many tweaks.
But he knows how the clubs operate. Like he's obviously got some backing from up top, letting him just do what he wants essentially, because they really had nowhere else to go. So he has really got full reign of that club, and he's obviously got the experience. He knows the whole process, their internal processes. They still haven't changed much. It's only been a couple of years since he was last there. I think he can make a bigger impact there short term than he can at Parramatta. And I think, does he? How big of a challenge does he want? Does he want to go into a club not having worked with any of the players really? Or
I disagree. Because I think that at the end of the day, if you're going to Parramatta and you're going to sign a contract with Parramatta to go and coach here for 3 years, you're putting down some pretty hard stipulations around what I can and can't do. So I think he's probably going to actually have more sway going into a club where he's never been before and they don't know how he operates and he goes, this is how I operate, versus trying to negotiate with them and they already know what to expect. So I think he comes from a better place of negotiation, going into a club who doesn't know how he operates, and then he goes, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this club around. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So, and I also think, we talk about his legacy, and I think to myself, imagine if he completely fucks this. He goes down to South, they stay cellar dwellers for 3 years, and then he's what, 70? Like, how old is he now? Like 80? Like
75, I think.
He's 78, I think.
78, right.
Okay.
So he'd be 78 when he finishes?
78 at the end of that contract. Yeah.
Right, 78.
Yeah.
So let's be honest, he's probably not going to get another gig after that, depending on the outcome. But I just think...
Oh, mate, he's coaching the 18th franchise. What are you talking about? They've already signed him up.
I don't know. I just think...
PNG and set it up.
Yeah. I just think... I think it has the ability to really harm his legacy if he goes down there and shits the bed. Not that I think he will shit the bed where he goes, but I just think that if he did, will it leave a bit of a mark on his coaching legacy?
I still think that, at the end of the day, that he's taken over a team that are bottom of the table. So the only way is sideways or up. Parramatta still have somewhere to go. really, don't they? And I honestly don't believe that roster that Souths have got is far off. Like this season is far off the 8. So I think he's looking at that thinking, and Bebbo, you did raise some good points. You do it with the roster. He does have a few decisions to make, but he knows those internal processes. He'll know all of the recruitment stuff. He'll know the budget implications they've got. He'll know all the contracts as well from being there only 2 years ago. Who knows? He has got to go into the depths of all the contracts and the Parramatta Eels players. He might be stuck with a load of players that he doesn't rate for 3 or 4 years, and then he's stuck with them. Whereas he knows everything about South. He can definitely bring in other players. Like that's what he's done at the Dolphins, and he's got a track record of doing it. I strongly believe that he wants a challenge. South is a bigger challenge in terms of the playing performance, and there is off-field stuff, but he knows all the backroom staff, and they will respect him. And I think he can make the biggest difference just from being him at South rather than going into Parramatta trying to, get everyone to his way of thinking. It will just be like a swap in, swap out, like, just changing the batteries in and out. At South.
I want to go back to your comment on them not being off the 8.
Still Bebbo who's shaking his head as well when I said that.
Do we drug test on this podcast? you are fucking high, mate. You are high. They are rubbish. They are dead set rubbish at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, but that's what I mean. Like, he is the player, the coach that can turn them around. If you look at those names on paper 2 years ago when they made the final, I can't remember, a couple of years, there aren't many differences. You're losing Reynolds. All the players are a couple of years older. That's fair enough. That's what happens. But so is everyone else. But you're adding Jack White into that, removing Broncos. What was it?
Adam Reynolds.
Adam Reynolds. And that's sort of like a couple of minor changes. I know you said, he's losing Burgess at the end of the season. That's also fair enough.
Minor changes, no halfback.
It is. But he's got experience on bringing players in, and he's obviously looking at that as an opportunity. And Parramatta, their injury record is not great with their halves currently. He might be looking at that and thinking that's a risk. He's still got to improve the depth in that squad, especially in the forward pack. I know Bebbo, you've spoken about how good the Parramatta forward pack are, and I do believe that the Parramatta peak is up there with the best, and obviously they've proven that over the last few years. But they really lack consistency. So, and when Gutho plays well, which is it is feast or famine, and it's getting worse over the years, and we sort of already agreed on that. What players are going to step up and take his place? Like, they just look completely lost and without a leader. Whereas I agree, Souths are like that, but they do have those players in their roster that are turning up and they do show a bit of grit. It's just the rest of them, like Latrell is the biggest example, but they need that impetus from a coach, and I don't think you can do that easily with the Parramatta squad. But I think
I would have. Honestly, if I was going to go on and coach South currently, right, and take that role on, you'd want assurances on a few things. One, the players are going to play where they're told to play, right? And we all know who I'm talking about there. Two, you sign 2 edge forwards. Mm-hmm. They need some fucking punch. You've got guys coming off contract like Angus Crichton, Jaden Sewell. Actually, Jaden Sewell just extended, didn't he? Right, so you got Angus Crichton. Satili Tupanua got told he could look around. Just take both of them off the Roosters' hands. You add those two, all of a sudden that forward pack looks so much better, right? Just 2 signings. But South haven't signed players for 2 years. Like you said, it is almost the same team as the grand final. There was another team that did that. They were called the 2015 North Queensland Cowboys, who won a grand final. And 3 years later, we're rocking the same fucking roster and not going very well. You can't just keep the same team, and because every other team's getting better. So if you don't improve each year, you are falling behind each year. Add on the fact that the lunatics from the outside seem to be running the fucking asylum down there when it comes to conditioning. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of work to do. You're talking about a coach that made Valence Davari go to fat camp, boot camp, and lose some fucking weight because he turned up to pre-season training. What's the Latrell going to have to do? You know, how's he going to respond to having to go to boot camp and lose fucking 8 kilos in 3 weeks? You know, there's so many unknowns. And yes, I know he's dealt with them before and that, but that ego has swollen so much in 3 years. Is it still the same ego that's going to listen to him? And let's not forget, when he was under him, he would disappear for 2 weeks. Then it would be like, oh, he needs a refresh, so I've sent him back to his farm for 2 weeks. Is that just because he's fucking sick of the cunt being around training, making everyone else lazy at training?
Well, maybe. But he was getting results, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was getting results, but that's because the rest of their team was better at the time, too. You could have a fullback check in and out because the halfback was doing his job better. Cody Walker was in prime form. Every single one of those players was younger and better. That was prime Damien Cook, too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different beast. I feel like the ship has sailed. The only way you'd take that fucking job is if they guaranteed they wouldn't sack you for 3 years while you cleaned out all of those motherfuckers that are in that team, because most of them are past their use-by date.
Yeah. I do agree, but I just think that consistency at his age is quite an important factor, and you can't not think about that when it is Wayne Bennett. And like we said, he's old. Like, it's like Donald Trump and Joe Biden running for president of the United States. They're so bloody old, and that you can tell that they're just being propped up by their advisors and stuff. It feels like it's the same, but he can go in, and I think the amount of effort it will take to learn everything at Parramatta, it outweighs the fact that he knows everything in South. So he knows the issues, right? He knows the players. He's seen it. You know, he's played against these teams still, but he obviously has got a plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed that. And he probably has got those assurances, and hence he's done it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you pose this question to us, I thought arguing the South's point would be a lot easier, and then I did some research and I was like, fuck, I should have picked Parramatta here. So I hope I've done my best to convince you all, but
don't come in late and act like that you didn't think South was the better option.
Well, I've just got to stick to where Tom Burgess goes.
Yeah, righto. Fair enough.
And the final point is, I think he will bring Sam Burgess back, and that will help him massively. Some player that he's obviously worked with a fair bit, and something that who can do all the hard nosed stuff for him and all the energetic bits that go with it. So I think
in what 2 years, 3 years.
Is that what he's restrained to?
People act like Sam Burgess can get called back on a plane tomorrow. You know, when someone wants him, he's fucking got a job. He's got a contract. He's not just going to be able to pack his bags overnight and come back because Uncle Wayne's coaching the team. He's coaching Warrington. He won't be back in the NRL till 2027 at the earliest. So
I don't know. If Wayne comes knocking back at South and he has some assurances like Wayne does, I think he'll come back.
Yeah, he might come back when his contract's up. Because if he's winning games over there, why the fuck are Warrington going to go, thanks for making us successful. Thanks for taking us to the Challenge Cup final in your first year. Oh, what? You want another job? Yeah, no, go. That'll be fine. We'll fill your job. No worries, mate. He's not coming back unless they let him come back. So it's people talk too haphazardly about Sam Burgess just popping back overnight. I tell you what. Plus Ben Hornby sitting there as the anything. Yeah, that's right. And being the saviour.
Like, yeah.
Just on Parramatta, I think they have made a big mistake with Brad Arthur, and the timing of it was just a bit sus. They thought they probably had a chance to get Wayne Bennett. Obviously, that did not happen. And now they're stuck with essentially no coach. They're going to have to go probably someone untested or promote within. And they could end up being quite bad in the future now. And then a couple of seasons of pain. So I really think they're tried to...
Quite bad.
Well, yeah, sorry, quite worse, shall I say. But I think they've cut their nose off to spite the face, and they've accidentally chopped their head off. Because I think they didn't really have much of a plan when they did this. I think they had been made at the start of May, but why now?
Yeah, apparently they were courting him pretty hard for the last 3 weeks. So, I don't think it was a knee-jerk reaction to get rid of him, and it probably did come down to the final sort of hours in terms of, hey, if we get rid of him now, they were probably on the phone to him last night, no doubt, or over the last couple of days pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, to your point, I do agree. I think that, look, have they shot themselves in the foot? I mean, the Eels are struggling anyway, and you kind of got to start to clean shop and think about the future anyway. So, we talked about this the other day with Jason Demetriou or a couple of podcasts ago talking about Jason Demetriou, and, should South have done this at the back end of last year as opposed to waiting 6, 7, 8 games into the season this year? And, conversely, talking about Brad Arthur going now, are you better off to do it now and get an interim coach in or start that process rather than waiting to the end of the year and then doing it then and just blowing a season, So I think the only thing I kind of don't agree with the way Parra's done it is the bloke's 50th birthday was yesterday, and they did it, the day before his 50th birthday, which is a bit rough.
Oh.
A bit rough. But, look, that's it. Look, at the end of the day, these guys are... Look, I know what you're going to say. They're head coaches of football teams, and that's I know you're going to say that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's like, imagine being fired the day before your birthday, like a big birthday. Like, it's pretty. I
wouldn't give a fuck. It's
yeah. I know.
750K.
I know.
That means you're gonna have a big day. You're gonna have a big day and not have to go to work early. Good on
well, one would argue
well
was he going. One would argue was he going to work for the last 10 weeks anyway, but. Was he actually turning around? But yeah, I don't know. That's how
you could also argue that he timed his performance at the weekend perfectly to try and get out of going to work on his birthday. So.
One interesting, again, doing a bit of research for this segment. One interesting thing I came across, and this kind of shoots my argument in the foot for going to Parramatta, but it shoots either of our.
Well, I've done the same to me, mate. So
no. Well, it kind of shoots either of our arguments in the foot. Okay. Wherever obviously Wayne Bennett's going to South. So looking back at Wayne Bennett's history as a coach and his starts to the season. So, anytime starting in an NRL season in a good fashion and getting into a rhythm and getting wins on the board, obviously is, it's not rocket science. It's important, right? And so looking at Wayne Bennett's starts to the seasons as a head coach, in the first 5 games, in sides coached by him, he averages 3.27 wins out of those 5. And in the first 10 games, he averages 6.68. So if you take the 10 games and you look back to the start of this year, or up to round 10, obviously, in the first 10 games, that would put whichever side he was coaching in 4th position, all right? 14 points, whatever it is. I worked out 14 points, right? Mm. Guess who's in 4th position on the ladder?
Redcliffe.
The Dolphins, correct. So
sorry, it was confusing. I said Redcliffe. Yeah, you're right.
so that's an interesting stat. So, I suppose to go full circle on this, will Souths be in the top 4 start of next year? Stranger things happen, but
no.
Look, I agree. I still stand by my position, but I think they'll be rubbish. But interesting stat, and will be interesting to see how that plays out and see if come round 10 next year, Souths are 4th, 5th, 6th, thereabouts. Be interesting.
Well, it depends if Angus Crichton, David Armstrong, Cameron Munster all playing for him, I guess, whether they're in the top 8. Anyhow, we'll move on. Speaking of top 8, Magic round's over. What are we, 10 weeks in the season, something like that. So let's go. Well, let's start talking about who we think is going to make the finals. So, Millsy, we'll start with you. Who have you got making the top 8 from what you've seen so far this season?
Yeah, so in no particular order, because I still think, I can't say it, but Sharks are looking quite dangerous, albeit what we've discussed on this podcast. So, if I say they're going to be top of the table, they won't be.
Top of the table, Sharks.
On the history. So, I don't know. We discussed this 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you said proof will be in the pudding at the end of this period and see how they perform. I know they got lucky against Melbourne with Pappenhausen out, and Munster's obviously not where he has been. But they're looking mighty impressive at the top. So I I can't see them moving too far from that spot. And then the only positions I think that will still be up for contention, the teams that might not be there, I think the Dolphins might drop out. I think the Raiders and the Knights will also drop out. And I think I haven't looked at the table for a while, but I was surprised to see the Sea Eagles sitting outside just based on their recent performance, especially the performance they put in against Penrith. So I reckon they will come into it. And I think the Bulldogs as well, they've shown enough for me that they can now start to really think about pushing for the 8. So I'm going to have them in there probably over the Knights. I think the Knights are playing too much out of their skin. I think they need to revert back to their mean. So I think they'll come out of the 8. And then it's a bit of a toss-up between... I still think the Warriors have got a good shout of making the 8. They just need to sort some stuff out. I don't really know what's going on over there, but they played outstandingly at the weekend. So if they can repeat that with all their players coming back, then they should be in pretty good shape. Or potentially someone like the Eels with the no Brad Arthur, will the shackles come off? I don't think so, but I think probably so. Warriors, Bulldogs, Sea Eagles come into the 8, and the Knights, Dolphins, and Raiders drop out for me. Out of the current ones. But
Chris,
I have.
do you agree with that?
I have the Sharks at the top, unfortunately.
Minor Premier Sharks, is that what you're going with? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You've said it. What do you reckon, Chris? Do you agree with that?
I had, and again, in no particular order, I have the Sharks, the Panthers, the Storm, the Broncos, the Roosters, Raiders. I think Manly sneak in, and I think the Dogs as well. I said that at the start of the season they would make the 8. I just don't know. I think I've got the Dolphins rounding out the 8. I just don't know if they can do it or not. So I'm going to stick with that. Sharks, Panthers, Storm, Broncos, Roosters, Raiders, Manly, and the Dolphins. I unfortunately don't think the Warriors are a chance of making the 8. I just think...
Oh, you little face. And who you got finishing... as minor premiers?
I'll just finish on that. I hope they do, but one good game does not make a season. Hopefully this is the one that kicks. Hopefully this is the one that kicks them around, but I just don't think they do. So back to your question, the minor premiership. Yep. I've got the Storm as the minor premiers. I just think. Ooh. I think the Sharks. For the viewers listening, if you can't find episode 5 where we're rubbishing the Sharks, there's obviously some sort of mistake. No.
don't go listen to it.
Don't listen to it.
You'd be like, these blokes don't even know what they're talking about. They go and win the premiership. No, I don't know. We talked about it on that podcast and we said, who have they really played? I mean, sorry, go back these last 2 weeks. Fair enough. They played the Storm and the Roosters. So, and when we talked about that on that episode, they hadn't really played anyone. The thing with the Sharks is they are putting points on. They obviously the points differential they've got. They're looking okay. I just think
they're doing it efficiently with ease as well. When you watch them, it's so effortless when they put points on.
Yeah, I just think the Storm. Just know how to do it. They've been there time and time again. One would argue, well, why not the Panthers? I don't know, 4 in a row. Nah.
I just mean minor premiership, mate.
Oh, minor premiership.
End of the season.
Yeah, I'm still going with the Storm. Yeah, I'm still going with the Storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Sharks have got it. The Sharks have got an easier run home, but yeah.
Yeah. Then after this match, I don't play anyone in the current top 8, I think.
Oh, really?
I saw that, yeah. So
I'm going to change my vote then for minor premiers to Sharks. No, I had the Storm as well. I'm going to stick with it. I had the Storm finishing first end of the season. I'll split it in top 4 and bottom 4 because I'm going to be fancy there. So Storm, Sharks, Panthers, Roosters going to go on the run, finish in the top 4. The other 4 finishing, rounding out the top 8. I've got Broncos, Dolphins. You just have no faith in the Dolphins, mate. Dolphins are going to go good. They've already showed they've got it. Fins up. I do have the Warriors having a bit of a comeback. I think there's enough in them. They're not too far out of the 8. Oh, that's the thing. I know it's been a bad start of the season. They're not too far out of the 8. They just need to string 3 wins together, and all of a sudden they're fucking right up there, in the business.
But can they? Can they?
Well, I think I'm going to tip them to beat the Dolphins in New Zealand this week. I think they will. I think that one win will get them back, get their mojo back going. I think if they lose this week, it's probably a bad sign for the rest of the season. But I think if they win this week, it's them. They're back, Mm-hmm. And spot 8, really toyed with it. I've gone the Cowboys. I know, it's fine.
Oh my God.
I
did not expect that from you.
Can we get the drug tester back, please? Get the drug tester back.
I considered Bulldogs, Knights and Seagulls for that spot too, but look, Bulldogs have the squad depth. They don't have the squad depth, I should say, to consistently compete. They couldn't even score points against an 11-man Raiders team on the weekend, which shows you how inept they actually can be. They're not going to win consistently to finish in the top 8, especially when they start losing players at Origin time. How many games are they going to win if Matt Burton gets picked for Origin?
Crichton would be a big loss.
Why don't they roll out Toby Sexton and fucking Drew Hutchison as their halves? Ooh, go for gold.
Dangerous.
Righto, the Knights, they were 50-50 with the Cowboys. Going to keep faith in my boys over the Knights. And the Seagulls have no chance because Luke Brooks is in their team. So, by law, they're not permitted to make the top 8. It's just how things are. They cannot finish any higher than 9th in Australia. So, that's my top 8. All right, Dally M winner. We'll keep the same order. Freddie, who you got? Racing home for the award.
Dylan Edwards. I think with Cleary out, I think he is the prime suspect for the Penrith team to bring it home. I think he's currently top anyway by a fair bit as well. So
it's tied.
From this point, he's got a head start. And
it's tied.
It's tied.
Tied with Nico Hines.
Yeah, I just think that Dylan Edwards, he's always top performer for Penrith, and with Cleary out, he's gonna pick up all the votes, I reckon. So I'm going to Dylan Edwards.
Fair enough. Chris, what's your thoughts?
Looking at past Dally M winners, it's kind of gone fullback, halfback, fullback, halfback, fullback. Technically, it should go halfback again, and one would say Nico Hines. However, I'm going to go with Millsy as well. I think Dylan Edwards will take it out.
Oh, well, we nearly got the trifecta here because I originally would have thought Dylan Edwards. But when Cleary returns, which is 6-8 weeks, whatever, and Dylan Edwards might get picked for Origin too, so he'll miss some games. When Cleary returns, he'll get 6 points just for breathing on game day every time they win. So Nico gets the same treatment for the Sharks, so I'm going to tip my hat towards Nico. I'm going to go Nico, claim his second Dally M award. Rookie of the Year, Millsy.
Yeah, I did have a short list. I just had it on my phone though, so I've got a few. I can't make too much of a decision, but I think maybe. I mean, there's not a heap of people that stood out to me, to be honest.
Mate, you need to hurry up. Chris has got maths to watch tonight.
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm going to say it's difficult to say after the weekend, but I'm going to go Dean Mariner.
I don't think he's a rookie.
You don't think?
No, he definitely doesn't classify as a rookie.
I think he does by the actual criteria.
How many games has he played before this season?
I don't know, but I think he's on the list.
What is the criteria?
Is he really?
How many games is it?
They're
Under 5?
They're eligible from 2 years from their debut game as long as they have played less than 5 games in total. So pretty sure he's played more than 5 games, hasn't he?
Pass. Well, that's who I had. So
yeah,
can't think off the top of my head.
He's played 6 games prior to this season, so he would not be eligible for Rookie of the Year status.
Well, I had Liam Henry as well on my short list.
That's an eligible pick. It's a shit one, but it's eligible. So
yeah, but that's what I mean. I struggled to find a good one. So that's literally who I had. And I didn't really think that Dean Mariner wouldn't be it. So okay.
All right, I've locked in for Liam Henry. Chris.
I'm going to watch maths. I have changed. So if we go on to your point, then there's the number of games played. Jack Bostock has played, I think he played 4 games last year. and
Well, he'll still be eligible then. Yep.
Yep. So and he is tied top try scorer at the moment. So I'm going Jack Bostock. Jack Bostock.
Righto. Well, I narrowed mine down to 4. Ethan Strange, Lachlan Galvin, Blaze Talangi, and David Armstrong. The last 2 are more on potential than because they haven't been regulars every game like the first 2. But I'm going to be a bit outlandish. I'm loving myself a bit of David Armstrong at the moment. I reckon if he strings together another 10, 12 weeks like he's been playing, how can you not pick him? David Armstrong. Let's go. Put money on it. All right. And the main thing, and we all know Chris's answer because he's already told us, 2024 Premiers. Who you got lifting the trophy? Chris has got the Storm. Who you got, Millsy?
I'm going to go Roosters, I think.
I'm going Roosters too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think they've got the biggest story. A lot of players leaving. I think Manu will have his tail up. I think they'll be favourites.
Peak at the right end of the season. Keary retiring. Warrior Hargreaves retiring.
Yeah.
Ooh. Send them off.
A lot
to
of
the
players
sunset.
leaving.
And so much depth. All right. Last rugby league topic for the day. Cameron Munster went down. Millsy is a clairvoyant or whatever those people are that take your money and don't really know. They just guess things, but sometimes they're right. Last week you said no one picked Munster in your Queensland team because you'll probably go down with injury this week. And there we go. We all picked Munster. Danny's gone. Quickly, who you taking? Chris, will start with you this time. Who you taking to replace Cam Munster at 6?
Mate, this was an easy one for me because on the episode last week, I had Ezra Mam on the bench and I was sort of saying that I wanted to squeeze him in, but don't know where I would squeeze him in. I would bring him into the run-on side. I would put him in the 6. My reason for that is, he's obviously not played Origin, but he's a big game player. He's playing great at the moment in terms of, line breaks and what he can do. And what he did, I think, more importantly, talking about big games and not being scared off by the occasion. Look at what he did in the grand final. I know the Broncos lost that one, but he basically turned that game on its head. And I think he can do the same at Origin. So I would bring in Ezra Mam.
Who comes on the bench? Take his jersey. Jaden Sewer.
Caught me on the hop there.
Didn't.
I think I've already got Jaden Sewer, didn't I? Go to Millsy and I have
What
to
was
think
that?
about it.
Did you pick?
Didn't you say Jaden Sewer?
No, don't worry about it. Yeah, I was pretty sure you picked Sewer's 18. Yeah. Millsy, who are you taking?
So I had Did in his 18th, so I'm going to promote him to the starting lineup, and I'm going to put Ezra Mann as my 18th. I debated doing what Chris did and just putting Mann in the starting lineup, but I have to stick to what I picked before, and I think Tommy did, and he's been at that level. I think he puts his heart on his sleeve, and he's a true Queenslander. I think Ezra Mann, he will get his chance, and if there's an injury, I couldn't think of anyone better to
Jesus Christ.
to come on, really.
Stop jinxing them. There's an
Sorry,
injury. I know.
Yeah, fuck. I'll pick Sam Walker. Sam Walker at that.
Righto. Well, I'm going to agree with you on the Tom Dearden side, but it was not a toss-up for me because Ezra Mam is not even half as good a defender as Tom Dearden. Origin's all about defence, effort. Tom Dearden has both. He's a natural man to go in. And, 2 years ago, Game 3, thrown into the fire, fucking played his heart out. So, Tom Dearden in, Jaden Sewer comes 18th man for me. Ezra Mam needs to learn to defend better. All right. Our favourite moment of the week, massive sports cock of the week. Have we got a fucking song for this yet, Millsy?
No, still open to options. So, hit us up. Haven't been doing much research, admittedly, sorry, but I'm sure there's a good jingle out there.
Righto. So we'll start with you, Millsy.
Who were the winners last week? Who was the winner?
Oh, yeah, righto. Yeah, good point. Good shout. So last week we had it's loading on me again. Last week we had Dan Hennessy, who scored 0% votes. Gloucester Rugby, who scored 0% votes. And the Super Netball officials who fucked up the score in the Sunshine Coast Giants versus Giants game. 100% votes. Well done. Congratulations. All right, this week, Millsy, who you got?
Oh, I'm a bit disappointed that no one voted for Gloucester. It's 19-0 losers. That's impressive. That won't happen again for all. So I've gone to a big sporting event that we're not discussing, but I wanted to rope it in somewhat. And it's not with my whole heart I say this, but the way he acted during the fight, I am picking Tyson Fury, purely because anyone who celebrates anything and then ends up losing just deserves to be nominated for the prestigious Massive Sports Cock of the Week award. So I do really think he brought it around towards the end. Like he was quite humble, and obviously shared quite a few nice moments with Usyk after he did lose the fight. But just for that moment, raising his hands at the end of the bell, and he lost. So premature celebration.
And just because Tyson Fury is a friend of the podcast and listens weekly, Millsy lives at 53 Reynolds Street, Tannum Sands, all right?
42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Chris, who you got?
This week we are going to Victoria and the AFL. Oh, is it Victoria? Yeah, it is Victoria. It's the Knox football. So it's actually the Knox Football Netball Club in Victoria. So what happened was that they've actually launched an investigation into the men's team for disrespectful behaviour to women. So basically what happened was the Knox players, as the women's side was coming out at halftime, the Knox players yelled ratings such as yes, no and mediocre at Donvale players as they ran onto the field at halftime. So my massive sports cock of the week this week goes to the Knox Football Netball Club and all the blokes down there. Good on you, boys. Well done. Terrible.
Wow. Who said chivalry's dead, hey?
Terrible.
Righto. Well, I'm also going to stay in the Mexican state of Australia and the sport of Aussie rules, the junior form Auskick, and we're going to the South Melbourne District's Auskick Club, where Sheena Charbra, an animal activist who emailed the club requesting them to replace beef sausages with vegan ones because, like most vegans on Earth, if they want to be miserable cunts who don't enjoy the fine things in life, like well-cooked animals, then everyone else should suffer too. Well done, Sheena. Hope you win. All right. Remember to get on to the podcasts and vote. Always a poll up each week, so you can vote for your favourite nomination. It's going to be a real prize at the end. I don't know what it'll be. Just us blasting the shit out of them, I guess, for being
vegan sausages.
All right. And while you're on there, give us a comment. So we got a comment last week. We talked about the EPL and how we suggested there should be a playoff for relegation. You know, Millsy didn't like the idea. Chris and I thought it was probably a good thing. Spice up the bottom teams playing off for their spot in the EPL. And a young bloke, I guess. I got no idea. I'm just going to gender shame you here. A young bloke called Zia Mills. Sounds like a chick.
It's actually my dad. It is.
Shout out to Mills. Shout out to Mills' dad for sounding like a chick. He sent through a link about the last time that they played a relegation game in the EPL between Chelsea and Middlesbrough in 1988 over 2 legs. Chelsea won the last leg, but 1-0, but lost the first leg 2-0, so they were relegated. And their fans, a few hundred of their fans, broke onto the pitch, throwing projectiles at visiting supporters. It took the police around 40 minutes to clear the pitch and the terraces. And 45 people were injured, including 25 police officers. In total, 102 arrests were made, and Chelsea were later found guilty of failing to control their supporters and given a £75,000 fine. I don't know what that is in dollars because we use the metric system in good countries. All right.
I think that's probably actually the reason that they didn't do it again is that was too good behaviour. It was unparalleled for the rest of the league. So it taught them how to play. Yeah.
So thank you, Millsy's dad. Sorry for calling you a chick. All right. Well,
That's great.
we'll move on. Yeah, keep those comments coming. We like the feedback. We don't know everything or fucking anything, so it's good when people actually know stuff, send stuff through. All right, Millsy, I'll let you take the floor here. You want to talk about the IPL and how your best mate from India is going over there?
So it's actually quite funny. So yeah, thanks Dad for pointing that out. I knew you'd be good for a few good stats and stories like that. But unfortunately, we both have to eat a bit of humble pie here, Dad. So Virat Kohli and his merry men of the Royal Challengers Bangalore, they have won about 900 games in a row to somehow make the IPL playoffs. And in doing so, they recently beat CSK, Chennai Super Kings, famously MS Dhoni, who's an absolute icon of Indian cricket and probably cricket in general, absolute legend of the sport, who is about 40 years old now and only plays IPL. So, story was that Dhoni came in, needed 17 off the last over, I believe, and hit a 6 off the first ball and then was out second ball. And at this point, the RCB celebration started to sort of wind up a little bit as the remarkable feat of winning 6 out of 7, not 900 games in a row, became a reality, and they were bound for the playoffs. Dhoni has not announced his retirement, but there's, after every season that he plays now, because of his tender age of 40, there is speculation whether he will retire. This is always his last game. And a lot of fans in India found the RCB celebrations very disrespectful, that they were not celebrating in silence just because of the respect for Dhoni. Now, to me, the fact they were celebrating should be more of a respect than not celebrating, because if you don't celebrate, it's like, we knew we were going to win. There's nothing, nothing there. So I love seeing Indian cricket fans triggered when Kohli does shit and they defend him, and I love seeing Indian cricket fans go fucking lose their minds because Virat Kohli's team has won, and now their other favourite, Dhoni, is potentially retiring and losing. You can't have it both ways. And so I've got to eat a bit of humble pie. Congratulations to RC for making it through. Do they have a realistic chance of winning the whole thing? Probably not. They're still a pretty average team, and they've had some favourable results. But it's a remarkable feat nevertheless. And he's going to win the orange cap, and he's playing all right. So, like I said in the previous episode, he listens to the podcast. He's taken my advice on board, and he's going to do well from now on in. I don't know if you chaps caught it at all, but
No, I have better things to do than watch cricket. But it gives India something else to whinge about, because aren't they still crying about them being the best team in the world, even though they didn't win the World Cup? Like, they lost the World Cup, and then just all you heard was them saying, we're still the best team in the world. Well, you don't have any fucking trophies to show for it, or indoor plumbing in most places, for that matter.
Because famously, that correlation between indoor plumbing and World Championship trophies is pretty strong. So,
well, you usually
help, wouldn't it?
You usually, I guess, get more people to play sports and compete at a higher level when they don't get what's that fucking disease you get? Cholera from basically living in their own shit. So yes, it has a little bit of a correlation there. I mean, Chris couldn't really understand because he's from New Zealand, and they probably still don't have indoor plumbing places over there. Right, so that's all you want to talk about, the cricket? Good, perfect, move on.
I kept it short and sweet for you, Bebbo. I know that our listeners also probably don't give much a rat's ass about the IPL, but I thought it was just mentioning, and, we hold ourselves accountable on this podcast, and where we go wrong, it's important to grow and learn from our mistakes, and I'm happy to eat a bit of humble pie for that one. Well, I'm not happy, but fuck you, Kohli.
Righto. Well, we'll move on, and we've got a bit of a surprise topic. Nothing to get excited about. It's like when you get a present for Father's Day, you know it's going to be shit, but you don't know what it is. All right, but we've got a segment, one-off segment this week called "Get to Know Your 12th Favourite Pom," and we've already found out Chris's Kiwi roots a few episodes back. So, Millsy, the listeners might be confused whether it's you or I that this segment is about. But since you came here in your own accord and I was dragged here after one of my descendants stole a loaf of bread or something along those lines, I guess you are the aforementioned Pom. So give us a brief intro about yourself, upbringing, your sports interests, I don't know, your Pornhub search categories, whatever. Go for gold.
Cool. Thanks for the intro, mate. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no worries.
So, yeah, English born and bred. Moved to Oz in 2019 after meeting my now fiance in a holiday whilst in Greece.
What's his name?
Now, Shane. Yeah,
Shane.
She would like to be left anonymous. But so yeah, now I'm a permanent resident. So all you Aussies are now stuck with me, and I'm loving life up in the Gladstone region, which everyone probably is surprised to hear, but I do love it up here. So my sporting background, because no one really cares about where I'm from. I've played pretty much every mainstream sport under the sun, and quite a lot of non-mainstream sports, and mainly just due to the schools I went to. Is luckily, very fortunate enough to go to some good private schools in England and just play sport and do school on the side, it seemed. But sort of highlights, I guess, were soccer, running, triathlon, cycling, swimming, athletics, track and field. But my main sports were definitely rugby union and then cricket in the summers because my poor English knees couldn't handle the hot, cracked rugby pitches in the summer. So my rugby career played from pretty much the age of 6. I played for clubs, schools, university, captain university in my second and third years, and then county represents from the age of 13 all the way through to 20s. Played Southwest England, and then most proudly England counties under 20 when I got, and then that's the chance I got to sing the national anthem. So that was definitely a highlight moment for me, and probably one of the proudest moments I've had in my life. I even had a small link with Premiership club London Irish, who are now unfortunately disbanded as of this year. So RIP to them, and I was associated with them from about the ages 13 to 16. So after that England tour, I was about 20 at the time. I had a semi-pro contract with now championship team Coventry, but unfortunately I had an absolute horror show of injuries that season. I was never actually able to make my debut, having done all of the pre-season, and then injured my hamstring, tore my hamstring in my first tackle of pre-season matches. So that sucked. And decided to basically not advance my rugby career and turn down. Actually, I got offered a second contract with a championship team, fully professional contract, a year later, and decided to go into engineering, the very obvious career path. So yeah, that's a bit about my sporting career. And then just on cricket, like I played, like I said, during all summers, got up to minor county level and haven't really played much since. And yeah, since coming to Australia, I tried to resurface my rugby union career playing for the Noosa Dolphins. But unfortunately COVID got in the way, and that got shut down pretty quick. And then, moved to Gladstone, and now I'm just loving life. Got my home gym all set up and doing lots of work on the farm. So finally putting all that gym work and all those exercise years to good use, albeit with now shit knees that I've got. So
you'll need to put that gym to good use when Tyson Fury finds you. But look, there's a lot to unpack there. Firstly, I did say brief intro. Fucking hell. Aren't you from England? Learn English. 2, I don't have many questions left now because you just fucking covered them all. I'm assuming your favourite moment as a competitor was singing your national anthem. Is that correct?
No.
Right. Because look, I was going to say we used to sing it at parade in primary school, and I didn't find it that exciting. But yeah, okay, go on. What's your favourite moment as a competitor?
All right, so this is a phenomenal one, and even if I describe it on this, people aren't going to get it, but the people in my team would be. So winning rugby union varsity for Coventry University against Warwick Uni. So in the about 50 years that this match had been played annually in front of thousands of people, my university, Coventry, had never beaten our bitter rivals Warwick, and they're actually in a couple of leagues above us in the Bucks tables in the UK, which is just the university championships. And in front of the howling rain, I mean, if you got tackled in the wrong point of the pitch, you had a risk of drowning. It was that terrible weather. We had a game in front of thousands of fans, and we sent the Warwick Uni home fans packing, just absolute silence during the whole time from their crowd. It was just a phenomenal moment. So, yeah, sharing that moment with my teammates, and then obviously big group hug in the showers after, that was something special.
Group hug in the shower.
I actually I thought I jinxed it because I actually had a bottle of absinthe in the showers after that, so I didn't want to go and buy that prematurely. But luckily, I didn't jinx it and managed to somehow enjoy my way through that bottle. But yeah, that was a phenomenal moment.
Did you drink the absinthe before you enjoyed the bottle?
I can't remember much that night, to be honest, mate. So maybe
that went right over his fucking head.
It's not gay if it's rugby. That's the same.
Right. All right. I got another important question. How hard is it to edit a piss break?
Real easy, mate.
Okay.
We'll find out. If the listeners can still hear this, it's hard.
All right, well, that piss break was sponsored by Great Northern Original, the beer from up here, unofficially, obviously. All right, so we talked about your favourite moment as a competitor. What's your favourite moment as a sporting fan?
So I've actually picked one which I wasn't present at the live event, but this one stands out to me just because it was the last sporting event I saw before I came to Australia, and it's the Ben Stokes Headingley innings in the 2019 Ashes, where he hit 153 on one leg with the last wicket stand with Jake Leach. And me and my dad, we're very superstitious when it comes to things like cricket. We did not move a muscle throughout that entire innings, and obviously brought it home for the team. So although we didn't see that innings live, it felt like we were there, and that was a phenomenal sporting moment. So I can't. The odds would have been outrageous, and to superstar of English cricket to bring it home was just fantastic.
So you didn't shower for 5 days?
Pretty much. I haven't showered yet.
Is Ben Stokes the same guy that doesn't realise the rules of staying inside your crease? Is that same Ben Stokes?
No, that's Johnny Bairstow.
Johnny Bairstow, is it? Right, yeah. Fantastic. All you English cricketers look the same. That's racist. All right. Obviously, you're a big rugby guy. Actually, don't worry about rugby. Name your favourite 3 sporting players of all time and why.
Oh, sporting players.
Or sportsmen, I should say, in case they're in single sports.
All right, I'd only actually prep rugby players for this, so I'm going to have a thing.
No, that's fine. Go rugby then. Fucking.
Okay, all right. So I've gone, obviously can't not have Johnny Wilkinson as an English fan. Forever one of the most iconic English rugby moments in history. Probably one of the most iconic rugby moments ever. And this is just genuinely 3 of my favourite players. I don't really have much of an allegiance to any particular player, but the second one is also English, Richard Hill. He is a definition of an unsung hero and was definitely one of my idols when I was playing rugby. Just did his work in the shadows and didn't enjoy the limelight at all. And
he was a prop. What position was he?
He was flanker.
Oh, flanker.
No, he was blindside, I think, off the top of my head. But back in those days, 6 and 7 was kind of the same thing anyway. So, he was just a phenomenal, just an all-round player. And when he didn't play, you wouldn't miss his name on the team sheet, but England would lose. And he was probably my player of the tournament in that 2003 World Cup when we won it. So, phenomenal. And then lastly, it was a toss-up between Jonah Lomu and this other player, Jason Robinson. But I've gone with
Jason Robinson. Yes.
Yeah, I've gone with Jason Robinson just because every time he touched the ball, same with Lomu, but I just got super excited when he touched it. And his highlights reel is just, it's insane. Like, it looks like the other players are running in treacle. It's just phenomenal. So, I know it's
He'd have one equally as good, a highlight reel equally as good in the English Super League, playing rugby league, because he was phenomenal in that. So, he was so good.
Yeah,
What was so iconic about Johnny Wilkinson? Like winning the World Cup or what?
So, winning the World Cup, that drop goal off his wrong foot to win it. Sorry, Australian fans, that was obviously pretty mega. But the other thing with him, and people don't traditionally know this, and And if you haven't read his book, I highly recommend it just to see how obsessed he was with everything, not just rugby, but awesome. He at the back end of his career, he went to Toulon, which is a French club in the south of France, and he played with Matt Giteau and Drew Mitchell, which are obviously pretty big names from Australia, so listeners might know them. But they did something unprecedented and won 3 European championships, and Johnny Wilkinson was at the forefront of that. So even at the back end of his career, when he retired from English rugby, he was still putting out, and he really put French rugby on the map on a European standard. Obviously, Toulouse had gone before, but definitely from Toulon, coming from nowhere, and just an amazing athlete and absolute. I mean, he commentates in the English game, and it's amazing just listening to him. So it really captivates you.
That Johnny Wilkinson drop goal will forever haunt me. I was living in the UK, working in the walkabout in Plymouth when he sunk that drop goal. So I was working in an Australia. Oh, mate, it was full of palms. Obviously, there was a few taken Aussies there, but oh my god, I've never seen a place erupt like it. It was horrendous, haunting.
It's just a moment that every rugby fan can remember, even if you're Australian or not. Like it's just amazing thinking back. Wrong foot outside the 22, last kick of the game pretty much, and just drills it, absolutely nails it. So phenomenal work from him, and obviously brought the World Cup home for us on Australian soil. So,
and on that book, I've read that book. I definitely read. But anyhow, I actually read another sportsman's book too, who's also obsessed with like everything. Ben Cousins, it was really good read. He was an AFL player, really good, and then got obsessed with every drug known to man. Right, okay. All right, we'll go back to your playing days here. What's the worst advice you received as a player?
So I'm actually going to go to. I've got a couple, and it was really bad advice at the time, and it wasn't really advice. It's a weird one, but I've only just sort of started using it in my everyday today, and it just triggers a memory. But when I was about sort of 8 to 12, I was in the locks with another bloke called Josh Pearce, and his dad was like 7 foot, and obviously we're quite young, so we're nowhere near that high. I'm 6'1" now, but he's obviously way taller. Anyway, he used to just shout randomly, peaches and cream, like from the stands. I'd be like, what the fuck is this bloke smoking? Anyway, like he just shouted every time I was getting angry, and obviously it was just trying to calm me down and make me smile. I never really clocked on. And I was just thinking about it like literally a couple of years ago. I was like, why the fuck did he do it? And every time I get pissed off at work, and I just think of peaches and cream now in my head. So it's not really advice, but it's just a funny thing. But the worst advice when I was swimming competitively, and I got given these like vitamin tablets. It was suspicious at the time. I was only like 13. I mean, there's these vitamin pills, and if you're listening on Spotify, sorry, but they were probably, I don't know, an inch big. They were huge in this jar.
Oh, I wish an inch was huge.
But so he got recommended these pills, and I don't know what they were and stuff, but I took them religiously, just sort of as I did back in those days, just do what you're told. And every time I took it, it made me feel crook. I had to like leave class and go throw up, and then come back like, I'm all good now, miss. And that was really the worst advice I'm given. Taking these
did it enhance your performance though? Did you perform better?
No, my piss turned like luminous yellow. That equals good performance, but nothing noticeable.
Right, okay. So Asada's not coming in, testing you anytime soon.
No.
All of you have in UK there. Yukata. All right. What's your funniest story you've got about sports?
So there's a lot I can't pronounce or announce publicly.
Of course you fucking can. Go for gold.
Nah, I can't. Most of them will. I will be incriminated for life, and I can't do that to me or my teammates. But I've got a few good memories from a festival we used to play in England, the Bournemouth Sevens. And basically this weekend was just like a public holiday weekend, so a long weekend. 3 days of just music festivals in the night and playing rugby sevens during the day. It was absolute carnage. And we entered as a uni team in like the 7th tier competition, so really not competitive at all. We used to have this bag of dares and stuff that you had to do during the match.
I'd have said that.
One of them. No, yeah, bit of that going around as well. But so I'll just bring out a couple that stick to my mind. So dead ants was one of the forfeits that you had to do, and then anyone pulled that card out, if the person who pulled it had to shout dead ants, every player had to lie on their back with their feet and hands in the air till the opposition team scored. And just
this
random.
is mid-game.
Yeah, mid-game.
Oh, right.
And there was beer in every water bottle apart from one that had vodka, and you could only drink that water bottle for the rest of the day. There was one that said Forrest Gump, and when you caught the ball, you had to pass it and then just keep running until you got to, and you weren't allowed to stop till you'd done a full lap of the pitch and touched both posts. There was one as well that first time you touched the ball, you just got to punt it off the pitch, irrelevant of where you are. So I remember I drew this one, and I was on like the 5 meter line from scoring. So there's nothing in front of me. Caught the ball, and I just had to punt it off the pitch. There was no one in front of me. And then there's one memory that stands out to most of me in this tournament, and it's a good mate of mine, or was back in the day, John Fong. He tackled someone so hard he actually shat his pants, and I'm pretty sure we actually changed pitches because no one wanted to play on the pitch, just at risk of falling in the dump, basically. So
shout out to Fongy.
That was just funny. It's like, yeah, he's a top man. If he's listening, you're doing all right, mate. But that was hilarious. I remember watching this poor bloke with his hand behind his butt, running to the bushes like doing a duck waddle as he went over. It's top notch that festival, and yeah, some of the good memories there. But yeah, man, rugby inductions are bad. I could go on for ages, but maybe for another time, eh?
Righto. So one last serious question before we move on to some silly ones. If you could have any athlete skills for a day, what would it be and why? Or who would it be, I should say?
So I did think about this quite a lot, and the way I looked at it was, how would I want to know what it feels like to be the best athlete in something? So if I wanted to be a runner, like just feel the speed, like I could just run a marathon in 2 hours or whatever, you know what I mean? So I picked Thor, the strongman, the Icelandic strongman, because I would just love to feel the strength of being able to pick up my mower, walk around with it on my shoulder, and just feel what they would feel, because I imagine it would be nothing like I could just pick up my max deadlift and just, I don't know, shoulder press it. You know what I mean? So I just feel like feeling that strength would just be a phenomenal sort of feeling without having to go through the pain of training to get there. So that's why I picked it. It might be a little bit boring, but I just think it'd be phenomenal to feel that. Whereas running, yeah, that's cool and whatnot, but I feel like being able to physically feel how light stuff feels for those big guys would be impressive.
And when you go back to normal, getting an erection would feel so much better too, because you've spent 24 hours without the ability to get one. All right.
Just being that high as well. The bloke's like 7 foot and like 300 kilograms. Like, just think about that weight. It's like 3 of me. That's Jesus.
You'd spend all day doing shit, to tell you what, or just eating because you're hungry. But anyway,
yeah, true.
All right, we'll go on to some other non-sport related questions here. What's the best food amongst the universally disliked British cuisine? So people want to travel over there.
If you go to England, there's 2 things you must get. And for me, the first one is a battered fish and chips on the seaside with copious amounts of salt and vinegar. I love my Australian crumbed fish and chips, and lucky enough to have very generous in-laws that take us out to the reef. You can catch, fillet, and cook our own fish within the same day, so that's pretty amazing. But it doesn't compare because it tastes totally different. It could be completely different fish, or it could be not even fish, it could be meat or whatever. But having a beer battered fish and chips, and even my fiance, who shall remain anonymous, Shane. She really enjoys those battle fish and chips, and she's lived off the Australian reef fish crumbs and like freshness all her life. So that's a good one. The other one you must try is a roast, and in particular Yorkshire puddings. You can't beat a British beef roast with roast beef roast. Who says that? With Yorkshire puddings and proper gravy and proper roast potatoes. I don't know what you think, Chris, but
black
those
pudding
would be my top two for
black pudding as well.
Oh, well, I love black pudding. It's a very,
I.
very contentious one, though.
Delicious.
And that's why I didn't say it. Yeah.
Black pudding, white pudding, delicious.
If you didn't tell them what it was inside it, everyone would love it. Guarantee it.
It's delicious.
But people have that misconception about what it is, and they just hate it.
Have you had it, Bebbo?
Not Sheena Sharbrush. She wouldn't like it. No, I haven't had it. But no, Sheena wouldn't like it.
Sheena would be right off it.
So, Chris, I need to get some clarity here, Chris. As a mutual, you're the mutual party here.
The referee.
Why is beer battered fish better in England than just battering your own fish in Australia? Beer battering it in Australia, because we've got other options, Millsy, other than crumbing.
I know, and it's one of life's big mysteries.
You've had too much absinthe in the shower.
Is it the beer that's used?
It's too much absinthe in the shower. It's not a patch.
It's just the same.
You and Shane need to take a break from that absinthe in the shower because it's not a patch. It's not a patch. It's not a patch on Australian fish and chips.
Yeah. Righto. Staying on food, how often do you dine with Charles and Camilla when you're over there?
Most first nights when I'm back, just to check in with grandma, grandpa. But yeah, typically start and the end of the tours. So
I find it weird that you call them grandma and grandpa when you're their third. But okay, is it true that there are no dentists in England?
Actually, this is actually a bit of a myth. There actually are dentists.
Oh, bullshit.
In England. Yeah, no. Contrary to popular belief, it's mainly just sporting events like Zia Mills pointed out that cause misplaced gnashes and skew teeth. So, the dentists are busy. There's just there's too much to go around, basically.
All right. Who has better beaches, Australia or England?
It's not even a consideration there. It's obviously Bournemouth Beach is the premier beach in England, and that's just supreme. But nah, you can't. I mean, Australia's got the best beaches in the world. Full stop. 100%.
Yes. So I hope Leon Price is listening. You dumb fuck. All right, and lastly, who's your favourite in-betweener?
Simon, because he's most relatable and he's got better hair than me.
Fuck yeah. Chris, I'm going to ask you this too. Who's your favourite in-betweener?
What's that? I've not watched In-Betweeners for ages. What's the guy with the blonder hair? The real lady killer. Reckons he's a lady killer.
Jay. Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, I'm Jay too. Fucking hell.
He's too much for me.
No, he's good. He's fucking awesome.
Reckons he's a lady killer, but he's not.
So
he gets mad clunge.
You know those things where you can go online and pay someone to like send a video message to happy birthday and stuff.
Yeah, he does them now. Yeah,
he's the top vendor.
Yeah, what
on the
would
website.
you think? He's the fucking
He
best.
made like millions of pounds from sending out videos.
I can't believe you picked Simon. Simon's the shittest. Will's better than
Well,
Simon.
the only reason I picked Simon is because I just thought it'd be the most relatable one. Will's just too. Yeah, I could have. I'm sort of sat physically between Will and Simon. I think socially. So
right. Okay. Well, that's Millsy for you listeners at home.
They're all switched off, probably.
Yeah. Good to know you. All right. Unsolicited financial advice. Last week we failed again.
Well, some worse than others. And
some
I just
worse
shot
than
myself
others,
in the foot.
but that's all right. It's irrelevant who failed. It didn't come off. We only got 5 of 7 legs. This week we have a 6-legger, and I'll start. I've taken 3 of those 6 legs, 50% for those people that can't do fractions or percentages. I've gone all AFL this week. I've gone Brisbane Lions head-to-head against Hawthorn, Melbourne head-to-head against St Kilda, and Fremantle head-to-head against Collingwood. I think it's about $3.36. Millsy, who you got?
So I've just gone one leg straight up. It's Jeremy Doku to score in the FA Cup final for Man City against Man United at $3.60.
That's an interesting last name. Is he African or black by any chance?
No, he's Count Doku from Star Wars, mate. He's part robot.
Oh, sweet. Okay. It's good to see soccer's coming to the 21st or 25th century. I don't know when Star Wars set. All right, and Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to take the Dogs at the line against the Dragons and into the Sharks 1-12. I think that's multied up to about $5.70 for that.
Bloody hell. You really pushed the bet on these, Chris. We set the limit at 3 and you just go...
Yeah, I know. I should get more points for that.
I don't know if it does go to 5.70.
No, sorry, 3.96. My apologies, 3.96. 4.29 with the power play, so 3.96.
Yeah.
So yeah, overstated.
All right, so
just round up to 10.
Just to recap it quickly, NRL will be Canterbury with a 3.5 minus start at the line. Cronulla 1-12 against Penrith. Jeremy Doku in the EPL or Challenge Cup, FA Cup Cup final for Man City against Man U. Anytime goal scorer, an AFL Fremantle, Brisbane Lions, and Melbourne Demons head to head against their opponents. All power played on Sportsbet is $75.44 to 1. Don't gamble responsibly.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
What was with the delay this week? Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't really slip it in anywhere else.
That's a shame.
Well, the skin's almost worn off it. So that's us for this episode. Please follow us on our socials. Search for Masturbated Sports on Facebook and Instagram.
Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts.
And most importantly, join us again next episode for some more engaging discussions,
Diverse perspectives.
And to experience the friction of masturbated sports.
When you're gone,